What's up, everyone? Welcome to yet another, yes, you heard me, another draft pick video for the upcoming Marvel Rivals. I'll be making this into a series, so if you like the content, feel free to stick around for future videos. Now, for those of you who don't know, Marvel Rivals is an upcoming 6v6 hero class shooter in development by Chinese video game giant NetEase in collaboration with Marvel Games. Many are making the obvious comparisons to games like Overwatch and Valorant, specifically because of the gameplay and the art style, with some even speculating that it might surpass those two titles, but that remains to be seen. This idea has been done before, specifically by NetEase, where they've taken a popular video game genre and kitted it with Marvel characters. The game I'm talking about in question is Marvel Super War. Unfortunately, Marvel Super War did not last long and it was only available on mobile and was eventually shut down. But who knows? If Rivals does well, we might get to see a reimagining of that game, hopefully in the veins of a game like Smite. I've been binge watching a lot of reaction videos to the trailer that dropped a couple of weeks ago, and I've also been enjoying the draft picks many creators have been coming up with. One creator in question, specifically GG Lounge, has spiraled this creative process of mine to create my own draft pick video. And the way that this started out was that he said, I'd like to see Hawkeye in the support category. And I thought, now there's an idea I can get behind. And then I sat with it, and I sat with it, and I could literally see it, and I could literally picture the kit. So the way I went about this is that at my core, I am a support player. I love playing supports. I love playing healers. I love denying enemy kills. I love keeping my team alive. And it's such an accomplishing feeling to be the heart of the team. I've also scoured multiple resources for characters that could complement the game and not just try to rely on big comic book names and big names from the MCU. Speaking of Hawkeye, whether that be Clint Barton or Kate Bishop, I specifically lean more towards Clint Barton because of the character's rich history and because of the costumes. I think he would make a great addition to the game. Now we know that in every multiplayer class game in its current iteration has its significant bow character. For Overwatch, that's Shimada Hanzo. For Paladins, that's Shalin. And for Valorant, that's Sova. For the most part, these characters are DPS or damage class oriented, and they're more about getting kills instead of aiding your allies. Paladins does, however, have a support character who wields a bow in the game named Io. Unfortunately, the bow is more of a nice to have and not an integral part of her kit. She's more of a backline summoner healer type. The way I approached Hawkeye's kit was that he plays similar to the veins of Hanzo, except that his arrows would be the bulk of his kit, focusing on keeping his team alive and doing the most he can to aid them in battle. Hawkeye is a ranged support who wields a bow and arrow that has infinite arrows. And the way this works is Hawkeye's passive. Hawkeye's passive is called Stark Tech Quiver. So essentially every time Hawkeye uses an arrow, it gets reconstructed in the quiver that is ready to use as soon as it's rebuilt in the quiver. Hawkeye's first ability I call the Hawk's Eye. Essentially this functions similar to the vein of Hanzo and Sova's abilities. Hawkeye fires an infrared arrow that highlights enemies for 5 seconds. Now this can either hit a wall or hit an enemy. If it hits a wall, it reveals enemies within a radius. If it hits an enemy, it travels with the enemy and reveals everything within that radius as the enemy travels. This also gives allies a 5% damage bonus on revealed enemies as well. Marvel Rivals also has an idea that they've showcased in the trailer called a team up. So what I thought was that Hawkeye could use this ability and infuse it with another ally so they also gain Hawk's Eye, but they're also getting a 10% damage bonus. Being a bow and arrow wielder, you're like, so how the heck is he going to heal allies? Right? So then I thought of nanites. Hawkeye's second ability is called Reconstruction Arrow. So it's an arrowhead infused with Reconstruction nanites that heals allies over time. Hawkeye has 4 charges of this arrow that gets reconstructed in the quiver every 5 seconds. Hawkeye's third ability is called Grapple Arrow. Essentially, this just allows Hawkeye to get around. As you know, supports do sometimes need movement abilities to get themselves into the fight faster to aid their allies or to get out of the fight to protect themselves. Hawkeye can aim at a certain direction to then attach a grappling hook, pull himself in that direction. Hawkeye has 2 charges of this ability on a 15-second cooldown. Hawkeye's fourth ability is called Sonic Arrow. The way I approached Hawkeye's arrows was that I try to get as many as I could from the comics, but there are just so many, and I tried to pick the ones that would make the most sense in a game like this. Sonic Arrow is Hawkeye's only damaging ability, as the rest of his kit is more support focused. The Sonic Arrow, once fired, explodes in a small area doing damage to enemies that also deafens and silences enemies for 2 seconds. Now, being a strong crowd control ability, I wanted to add some complexity to his characters that it raised the skill floor. Essentially, this Hawkeye is going to be a very aim-dependent hero because it is a bow and arrow. But with this ability, it's sort of like you have to make the decision whether this would help you to save yourself when an enemy jumps on top of you to get out of the situation and then use your grapple arrow to get out, or you could use this to initiate and help your tank or your damage character get that finishing kill on an enemy who can't use their abilities for 2 seconds. Now, being such a strong crowd control ability, I put this ability on a 20-second cooldown because of how strong it is to just silence your enemies and to just remove their ability to play the game. Hawkeye's ultimate is called Pim Particle Arrow. Hawkeye has access to 2 different charges of this arrow, both which were used in the Hawkeye TV series. So the first Pim Particle Arrow allows Hawkeye to shrink an ally, and the second arrow allows Hawkeye to enlarge another ally, or as I like to say, embiggen. When Hawkeye fires the shrinking arrow, essentially what happens is Hawkeye shrinks down an ally, they gain a 200 HP shield, and they gain a 50% damage bonus. The second arrow enlarges an ally, or as I like to say, embiggens an ally, and then also gives them a 200 HP shield, as well as 50% damage reduction, both of which last 6 seconds. Now, Hawkeye can only choose 1 arrow to use per ultimate, so again, adding complexity to a support character just to raise the skill floor. So my vision for Hawkeye was that essentially he is a Hanzo that has trick arrows that heals his allies. I feel like he would be a great addition to the game. For skins, obviously I'd love to see the old man Hawkeye. That is one of my favorite Hawkeye designs, as well as some of the designs for Marvel Super War. I think those designs were really, really great for skins, and I'd love to see what else NetEase could come up with. And anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to subscribe, hit the like button if you found this interesting. I'll see you guys on the next one.